Mr. X's class. We're talking about the word adapt today. So adapt means, has three meanings. It's a verb, an action, three meanings. And all the meanings are focused on changing in some way. Changing something. Usually changing something because of a new situation. Something changes because of a new situation. So one is, definition one, to change something in order to make it suitable for a new use or new situation. So here's an example for that. Imagine if you have a recipe with certain ingredients. If you want to change some ingredients, you might have to change the recipe a little bit to make it work with the new ingredient. So if you have a chicken recipe and you want to use turkey, maybe you use different spices, let's say. So you could say, I adapted, it's a regular verb, past tense, ed, right? I adapted the chicken recipe to use turkey instead. So it's a new situation. I don't have any chicken, I have some turkey. So how do I change the recipe? You might change it. You can use adapt in that. That can be used for anything. It could be you adapt an object, to use it in a new way or something. And this could be change something. That doesn't mean anything. Could be an object, could be a recipe, could be an idea. Could be an idea. You change an idea in a new situation. That could be definition one too. I came in with a certain idea, but then I adapted it in response to what happened, let's say. Teachers have to adapt their teaching styles depending on how the students react, whether the students are learning or not. You might say, well, I tried something, but it didn't work, so I'm going to adapt my lesson plan, change it because of the situation, because the students didn't learn this way, I'm going to try teaching them another way. That could be adapt. Definition two, for a person, change your behavior in order to deal more successfully with a new situation. Deal with is like enfrentarse, right? No. Enfrentar. No enfrentarse. Enfrentar. Una nueva situación. So, and this is one where, and I'm talking to my class, I think that in Spanish we have adaptar, but definition two is really, it's because it's for yourself. We should probably add adaptarse. Because that's definition one would be adaptar, but I think definition two is adaptarse. So you can add that to your card. I know it's not on your card, you can add it to your card. I think it should be there in Spanish. So this is to change for a person, change your behavior to deal more successfully with a new situation. For example, new immigrants need to adapt to a new culture. So they might change their behavior. You can don't worry, you can still use that in some form, just don't copy it exactly, but if you want to use it in your sentence. So yeah, if you're in a new culture, then things that you used to do in the other culture are not the same. Like, I remember when I first went to Mexico, I was that people eat lunch at 2 p.m. That was strange for me. So things like that. Like, no, I want to eat lunch at 11, 12. No, eat lunch at 2 p.m. So I had to adapt. So it's the same thing if you come here from another country. So then definition three is to change a book or play. Oh, so that can be made into a play. So that can be made into a movie. Let's change this. Movie. There's a big list actually. Movie, TV show, etc. There's a big list on your card. I didn't copy all of it. But so you start with something. You start with a written work in a certain form, and then you change it into another form. So sometimes we'll make a movie of a book. You start with a book, you turn it into a movie. So it's changing it similar to all the other definitions, changing it in a new situation. So you could say that if you remember in English 2, we watch a movie called Il Postino about Pablo Neruda. So that movie, I'm going to show it right now to them. That's why I'm thinking about it. That movie is based on a novel. Originally it was a written novel, and then they turned it into a movie. So the director of that movie took the novel and adapted it, changed it. So in a novel, of course, in a movie you just have dialogue and you have visual things. In a novel, you have descriptions. In a movie, you don't need descriptions because you show it with a camera. So it's different form. It's not exactly the same. You need probably more speaking in a movie to explain what's happening. In a book, you don't need to have people talk. You can just explain what's happening in the narration. So there are things you have to change between a novel and a movie. So that's what this director and his team did to make the movie. And here's a sentence. Many books are adapted into movies. Word families. Adaptation. This one is always a noun in English. Never a verb. Can be a verb in Spanish, but it's never a verb in English. So don't be tricked by that. Always a noun. Adaptation is the process of adapting something. The process. Okay, adaptability. Anybody know? That is actually a noun. And do you have an idea what it might be? Ability? You know what ability is? Habilidad? It's like the ability to adapt. So this could be, no, it's a noun. There is an adjective that's related to it. That adjective is here somewhere. What would the adjective be? Adaptable. So these two are kind of go together. So we could say, if we say a person is very adaptable, that means that person can easily do this. Can easily change behavior in a new situation. It's kind of like flexible to describe a person, personality, like flexible. Like you're not, you know, because someone who's not adaptable will say, I don't care what's happening, I'm going to do it the same way I always did it. Like, I'm going to, you know, I always eat lunch at 12, even if the restaurant is not open in Mexico, I'm going to go to the store and you know, buy bread and peanut butter and make myself a sandwich because I eat at 12, I'm American, right? So that would be rigid. But adaptable would be, okay, I'm in a new country, well, maybe I'll have to do it differently. So that could describe personality. Adaptability is that quality in a person. So you could say, you know, someone has a lot of adaptability, that person is very willing to change in new situations. People who are not adaptable don't do that. You could say they're rigid. Okay, adaptive. Anybody know what that might be? Part of speech? Adjective. It's an adjective. And adaptive means describes the change that you make. And it's saying that this change is a change that is, you made that change to fit a new situation. So this is not for a person. This is like, or another thing adaptive is used for is like the computer test that you take. It's called an adaptive test. That means that it adapts to you. It changes. So depending on the situation, because if you get an answer right or wrong, then the next question is different depending on what your last answer was. So that's why we call it an adaptive test, not like a pencil and paper test where everybody has the same test. That test changes for each person. Adapted is an adjective. It's a past tense, but it can also be an adjective to describe something that was adapted. So we could say the original book was like this. Now the adapted book, that's like the book that has been changed. Ha sido cambiado. That's what it's saying. Okay, to describe something. Synonyms for adapt. Definition 1, change or alter. Alter is also an Awod word. And definition 2, adjust or get used to. Acostumbrarse. Get used to. Acostumbrarse a una nueva situación. And no antonyms. All right, questions about this word? Thank you, and thanks for filming today.